July 24, 1916, Cleveland, Ohio. Deep beneath Lake Erie, dozens of workers are trapped in a gas-filled tunnel, their lives hanging by a thread. The city's rescue teams have already failed, some dying in their attempts, but one man steps forward, carrying a strange device of his own invention. A device the fire department had refused to buy just months earlier, because its inventor was black. This is the story of Garrett Morgan, the son of enslaved parents who became one of America's most brilliant yet forgotten inventors, and how his courage and ingenuity would save countless lives, even as he was forced to hide his own identity to succeed. Born in Paris, Kentucky in 1877, Garrett Morgan entered a world where the shadows of slavery still loomed large. His parents, formerly enslaved, could offer their son just a 6th grade education. But young Garrett possessed something that no amount of discrimination could suppress: an insatiable curiosity about how things worked. At age 14, Morgan left Kentucky for Cincinnati, then Cleveland, carrying nothing but determination and dreams. Working as a sewing machine repairman, he studied the mechanics of every machine he touched, often staying late into the night to understand their inner workings. What others saw as simple repairs, Morgan saw as opportunities to innovate. In an era when less than 1% of Black Americans could attend college, Morgan turned his repair shop into his laboratory, his workplace into his university. By his early 20s, he had already begun developing his own inventions, starting with an improved sewing machine belt. But this was just the beginning of a remarkable journey that would challenge not just the limits of technology, but the deep-seated prejudices of his time. In the early 1900s, Morgan faced a double-edged sword that would define his career. His brilliant mind could solve complex problems, but in a segregated America, who would buy solutions from a black inventor? The answer would force Morgan into an extraordinary deception. To sell his inventions, Morgan often hired white actors to demonstrate his products while he posed as their janitor. Sometimes, he would disguise himself as Big Chief Mason, a Native American character he created. Capitalism and racism forcing him to hide his true identity to succeed. Let that sink in. One of America's most innovative minds had to pretend to be someone else just to be taken seriously. The patent office repeatedly challenged his applications, requiring excessive documentation and proof. White competitors spread rumors about the quality of his inventions, simply because of his race. Department stores would cancel orders upon discovering his identity. Morgan had to fight not just for recognition, but for the basic right to be acknowledged as an inventor. Perhaps most frustratingly, many of the very institutions that could benefit from his life-saving inventions, fire departments, police stations, and safety organizations, initially refused to even consider his products. It would take a tragedy to prove his genius, but at what cost? Morgan's breakthrough came from an unexpected place, a burning question. How could firefighters survive in smoke-filled buildings? His answer was the safety hood, the world's first practical gas mask. Unlike anything before it, Morgan's device featured a series of tubes that hung down to the floor, where the air was clearest, with a wet sponge to filter out smoke and cool the incoming air. It was brilliantly simple, yet incredibly effective. But his innovation didn't stop there. After witnessing a horrific collision between an automobile and a horse-drawn carriage, Morgan invented something we all take for granted today: the 3-position traffic signal. Unlike the basic stop-go signals of the time, Morgan's invention included a warning position, what we now know as the yellow light. This 3rd position revolutionized road safety, creating the foundation for modern traffic control. The true test of Morgan's gas mask came during the Lake Erie tunnel disaster, when a massive explosion trapped workers 250 feet beneath Lake Erie. Previous rescue attempts had failed catastrophically. Morgan and his brother put on their safety hoods and descended into the toxic darkness. Over several hours, they rescued more than 20 men who would have otherwise perished. The city could no longer deny the brilliance of his invention. Yet even this heroic act came with a bitter twist. Initial newspaper reports praised the bravery of the rescuers, but conspicuously omitted Morgan's name or described him simply as an unknown Negro. It wasn't until years later that he received proper credit for his role in the rescue. Despite his life-saving inventions and proven track record, Morgan's story began to fade from public consciousness. Victim to the systematic erasure of black achievement from American history, the Great Depression hit his businesses hard, and medical issues stemming from his rescue work at Lake Erie began to take their toll. Large companies began producing their own versions of his traffic signal, some building upon his original patents without proper attribution. His gas mask design was modified and used extensively in World War I. But Morgan saw little of the profit or recognition. The very institutions that had once shunned his inventions now embraced similar technologies, while forgetting the pioneer who had shown the way. By the 1940s, many of Morgan's contributions had been attributed to others or simply forgotten. History books excluded his achievements, and new generations grew up unaware that the traffic lights they used every day stemmed from the innovation of a black inventor who had to disguise himself to sell his own creations. Morgan's final years were spent fighting for recognition, not just for himself, but for other black inventors whose contributions were being systematically overlooked. His health, permanently damaged from the Lake Erie rescue, continued to decline. Yet, he never stopped advocating for change. Today, every time you stop at a yellow light or see firefighters wearing modern breathing apparatus, you're witnessing Garrett Morgan's legacy in action. His traffic signal design has saved countless lives and became the foundation for every traffic light system in the world. His gas mask innovations paved the way for modern respiratory protection equipment used by firefighters, military personnel, and industrial workers. But perhaps Morgan's greatest legacy lies not just in his inventions, but in his persistence in the face of overwhelming odds. He proved that innovation knows no color, that genius cannot be confined by prejudice, and that one person's determination can change the world, even when that world refuses to acknowledge them. More than 150 years after his birth, Morgan's story is finally beginning to receive the recognition it deserves. Schools and streets now bear his name, and his innovations are being acknowledged in history books and museums. But his journey reminds us of how many other brilliant minds might have been silenced by prejudice. How many world-changing innovations we might have lost to discrimination. As we marvel at our modern world of automatic traffic systems and advanced safety equipment, we must remember Garrett Morgan, the man who had to hide behind a mask to give us innovations we now can't live without. His story challenges us to question how many other forgotten geniuses are out there waiting for their stories to be told. If you've been inspired by Garrett Morgan's story, leave a comment below sharing what amazed you most about his journey. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories of forgotten geniuses who changed our world. Sometimes the greatest innovations come from those history tried hardest to forget.